A new mugshot of Charleston White just surfaced after he was arrested again in Texas. He was booked in Collin County on August 10, and the image is already spreading online. But it's the charges behind his latest arrest that have everyone talking. Let me catch you up. Here's what actually happened. On August 10, 2026, Charleston White was arrested in Collin County, Texas, and booked into the county jail. A new mugshot from that booking started circulating within hours, and it spread the same way everything involving Charleston spreads. Fast, across multiple channels, with reaction videos going up before most viewers even knew the full charge sheet. Collin County isn't Charleston's usual backdrop. Most of his public run-ins over the years trace back to Tarrant County and the Dallas-Fort Worth corridor he grew up in. So the moment word got out that he'd been picked up further north, in Collin County specifically, people started asking what he was doing out there and what exactly led to the arrest in the first place. That question, what actually happened before cuffs went on, is the one that's been driving most of the conversation. Since the booking photo hit timelines, what's clear is that this is now sitting inside a jail system with paperwork attached to it, a booking number, a mugshot, and a case. That has to move through Collin County's court process like any other. That's a different animal than a viral clip of him mouthing off to police on the side of a road. This is a documented arrest, with a photo taken inside an actual intake facility, and that photo is now the anchor image for every video, every headline, and every comment thread discussing him. The reactions came fast, and they came from exactly the names you'd expect. Big U, who has spent years denying any involvement in what happened to Nipsey Hussle, and who has repeatedly pushed back against Charleston's accusations, didn't waste time weighing in. Once the mugshot made the rounds, his camp has long argued that Charleston's credibility is the real story here, that a man with his own history of testifying against a co-defendant has no business calling anyone else a snitch, and the new booking photo gave that argument fresh ammunition. To Big U's supporters, this wasn't just another arrest. It was proof, in their eyes, that Charleston's own life keeps landing him in the exact system he spent years using to attack other people. Whack 100 reacted from the other direction. He and Charleston have clashed publicly for years, most notably in an exchange that got tagged online as Charleston White versus Whack 100, getting heated over Nipsey Hussle, snitching and prison time. When the Collin County booking surfaced, that old feud got dragged straight back into the conversation. Whack 100's read has always centered on the same point, that Charleston talks a lot about loyalty and street credibility for someone who spent so much of his own life in custody. The new mugshot didn't need much commentary from Whack 100 to do damage. People pulled the old clips themselves and did the work for him. And then there's Charleston himself, who reacted the way he always reacts, by getting in front of a camera. He's never been the type to let a booking photo sit out there unanswered, and this time was no different. He addressed the arrest publicly within days, framing it on his own terms, the same way he framed the Irving traffic stop, the same way he framed his release after the aggravated assault case. That's been his pattern for over a decade. Talk through it before anyone else gets to define it for him. But here's the difference this time. A mugshot isn't a story he gets to write from scratch. It's a photo taken by a booking officer, time-stamped, filed, and attached to a case number that exists whether Charleston talks about it or not. He can frame the context around it, but he can't erase the fact that Collin County now has him in its system with charges that have to move through an actual court calendar. What makes this land harder than a routine arrest is exactly what it's stacked on top of. Charleston has spent years accusing Big U of orchestrating pressure that led to Nipsey Hussle's death, going as far as putting out a segment titled Charleston White Reveals Evidence that Big U killed Nipsey Hussle. He's called Big U's alleged conduct extortion, describing scenarios where he said, Big U in the rolling 60s sent a hit on Nipsey Hussle after he stopped paying their extortion fee. Every time his own name ends up attached to a jail record, that history resurfaces, and people start asking the same question all over again. What gives a man with his own booking sheet the standing to accuse someone else of murder? That's the atmosphere the Collin County arrest dropped into. Not a clean slate, not a first offense that people are reacting to without context. A brand new mugshot landing on top of years of accusations, counter-accusations, and old footage that had already shaped how people were going to read whatever came next. And that's exactly why, before getting into who's saying what about the specific charges, or what happens next in the Collin County court system, you have to understand what Charleston has already survived, said, and been accused of, because none of the reaction to this arrest makes sense without it. This didn't start on August 10, 2026. It started decades earlier, in a courtroom in Tarrant County when Charleston White was 14 years old. To understand why a single booking photo out of Collin County carries this much weight, you have to go back to Fort Worth, long before Nipsey Hussle, long before Big U, long before YouTube even existed as a platform for someone like Charleston to build a following on. Charleston's childhood was rough before he ever saw a courtroom. He suffered a serious injury as a young child when the lid of a washing machine opened while he was playing near it, and he fell inside. A couple years later, he lost his right eye and began wearing a prosthesis. Those injuries left him isolated. He was taught by a private tutor until 6th grade, never really getting the normal school experience most kids his age had. Then at 14, everything changed for good. He took part in a robbery at a Foot Locker in Arlington with a group of other teenagers. They grabbed jackets and ran, and a store clerk chased them down. A man named Michael Levy pulled up in a car, trying to recover the stolen merchandise. Charleston and another teenager, Antoine Doolittle, threw the jackets out of the car, and Doolittle shot and killed Levy. That's the moment that defined the rest of Charleston's life. He later testified against Doolittle and was convicted of murder for his role in the robbery, landing him in a Texas Youth Commission facility. He gave testimony against his own co-defendant. To some, that's just how the case shook out. To others watching him decades later, throw accusations at Big U and call other people snitches, that early testimony is the first data point in a pattern they say has never gone away. While he was locked up, things got worse at home. His 17-year-old brother, Kev White, was convicted of murder around the same time and sentenced to 99 years. Charleston wasn't just serving his own time. His family was getting pulled deeper into the system. At the same moment, he ended up at Giddings State School, the facility designated as Texas's maximum security juvenile school. By the time he arrived, most of the kids there had committed violent crimes. He was sentenced to 12 years in the juvenile system, and during his time at Giddings, he rose to lead a gang inside the facility. He didn't just survive that environment. He climbed to the top of it. He was supposed to age out into adult prison at 18. The way the system worked in Texas at the time, that didn't happen. 4 correctional officers at Giddings testified on his behalf, and a judge decided against transferring him to adult prison, sending him back to Giddings instead. Charleston has talked about that moment for years, staffers risking their own jobs to tell a judge this kid had potential, and the judge deciding to give him another shot. He stayed in the system a while longer and was released in 1998 at age 21. By his own account, he never went back after that. He pursued education, studied criminal justice, and co-founded a youth outreach organization called HYPE, helping young people excel. That biography is exactly why a mugshot out of Collin County hits different than it would for anyone else. Charleston isn't a random personality who got picked up once and became a punchline. He's a man whose entire public identity rests on the claim that the juvenile system rebuilt him. After he'd already testified against a co-defendant, already led a gang inside a maximum security facility, and already watched his brother get sentenced to 99 years in the same system. Every time a new arrest surfaces, it doesn't erase that story. It lands right on top of it. And that history is exactly why the accusations flying between Charleston, Big U, and Whack 100 always carry more weight than a typical online argument. Charleston isn't commentating on street politics from the outside. He testified against someone himself, decades ago, under oath as a teenager. So when he turns around and accuses Big U of orchestrating pressure that got Nipsey Hussle killed, or trades insults with Whack 100 over who's really been talking to police, he's doing it with a resume that invites exactly this kind of scrutiny every single time. That's the foundation. And it's exactly why his collision with Big U and Nipsey's case became one of the defining storylines of his public life. Once Charleston built his platform, he didn't stay in his own lane. He walked straight into one of the most sensitive, unresolved conversations in hip-hop. What actually happened to Nipsey Hussle, and who created the conditions that got him killed? The official record isn't in dispute. Court transcripts released after the killing showed that Nipsey Hussle and the man charged with killing him talked about snitching shortly before the rapper was shot, a conversation prosecutors said was the motive. Nipsey's friend Herman Douglas testified he overheard the rapper tell Eric Holder there were rumors he'd been talking to authorities about the Rollins 60s and that there was paperwork on him. A deputy district attorney later told the grand jury that conversation was enough to send Holder back to the parking lot to kill Nipsey. That's the part everyone agrees on. What people don't agree on is everything around it. And that's where Charleston and Big U collided. Charleston has spent years pushing a version of events that puts Big U at the center of it. Not on the trigger, but as the reason the pressure existed at all. He's called it extortion gone wrong, and he didn't stop at implication. He put out entire segments claiming he had evidence connecting Big U to Nipsey's death, and he described a pattern of Big U allegedly pressuring other artists using the same extortion playbook. Big U has denied any involvement in Nipsey's death for years, and has pushed back on this exact accusation every time it resurfaces. That's where Wack 100 becomes the third voice in the room. He has his own relationships across West Coast hip-hop and his own read on what happened. And when he and Charleston clashed publicly over it, it wasn't a light disagreement. It got heated, specifically over Nipsey, snitching, and prison time. That fault line isn't just about who killed Nipsey. It's about who has the standing to call anyone a snitch in the first place. That's exactly what turns ordinary footage of Charleston into a lightning rod. He's not commenting from outside this world. He came up through gang leadership, inside a maximum security juvenile facility, testified against a co-defendant as a teenager, and now spends his platform accusing men connected to actual gang structures of orchestrating murder. When he calls out Big U's supporters push back along the same line every time, questioning what gives a man with Charleston's own history the standing to make that call. Nipsey's case moved forward on its own track, separate from any of Charleston's commentary. Authorities allege Holder shot and killed Hussle and wounded 2 other men. Holder pleaded not guilty and was arrested 2 days after the shooting. Nothing in the court record around Holder implicates Big U in orchestrating the killing. That specific claim exists almost entirely in the world of online commentary, led loudest by Charleston himself. But that gap between the official case and the accusations flying around it is exactly what's kept this story alive for years. Every time Charleston's name resurfaces, through an arrest, a leaked clip, or anything tying him back to Big U, people run it through this exact lens, asking whether it confirms something about who's been telling the truth. That's the environment his new Collin County case dropped into. Not a clean slate, a file that's been building for years. By the time Collin County booked him, Charleston White had already spent years accumulating a personal highlight reel of run-ins with police and cameras, and that pattern is exactly why this newest arrest got treated as part of an ongoing story, instead of an isolated event. Start with the traffic stop that introduced a lot of casual viewers to how unfiltered Charleston really is. Irving police officers noticed a white BMW breaking traffic laws, and when they ran the plates, they realized the car belonged to a well-known community activist. What made that stop go viral wasn't the traffic violation. It was what he told the officers once they had him. Comments framing his real conflict as being with other black men rather than with police. Comments that spread once the body cam footage got released. That video set the template for how Charleston operates in front of a lens. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and fully aware that whatever he says is going to end up as content within hours. That pattern kept repeating for years. He's been arrested on multiple separate occasions for different things entirely, including allegations involving a loaded weapon and an illegal substance, a separate DUI allegation, and an aggravated assault charge that led to a release from jail that got its own coverage. Each of those moments generated its own wave of footage and commentary, and each time Charleston came out the other side and narrated it himself, often within days. That habit, getting ahead of the story before anyone else can, is part of why the Collin County booking felt different the moment it surfaced. Usually Charleston controls the footage by talking over it before anyone frames it for him. But a mugshot doesn't wait. It's already public, already time-stamped, already attached to a case number the second it leaks. And by the time Charleston addressed it publicly, reaction channels had already spent days shaping the narrative without him. It's not just old footage either. More recent incidents kept his name cycling through this exact pattern. Footage out of Houston showed him in the middle of an altercation where witnesses described shots being fired, and additional angles of that same confrontation kept surfacing afterward, reigniting discussion each time a new vantage point leaked. Separately, footage framed around him supposedly snitching had already been picked up and reacted to across multiple channels before the Collin County news even broke. Layer a new booking on top of an arrest history that already includes weapons allegations, a DUI allegation, aggravated assault, and a shooting incident in Houston, and you see why this case isn't being treated as a standalone story. It's being read as the newest entry in a file that keeps growing every time his name resurfaces, and every new arrest gets measured against everything that came before it. There's also how fast unrelated controversies get tied back to the Nipsey and Big U storyline, even when they have nothing to do with it on the surface. A podcast appearance, an arrest with zero connection to gang politics. Within hours, people are pulling old clips of Charleston talking about Big U back into the conversation, treating every new headline as evidence one way or the other. That's the environment his brand operates in now. Nothing exists on its own. Every arrest gets absorbed into the larger argument about credibility and about who's actually been talking to authorities when it counted. That's exactly the weight the Collin County booking carried the moment the mugshot went public. It wasn't judged on its own. It was judged against a body of footage going back years. Body cam clips, arrest footage, altercation footage, and a documented juvenile record that already told people exactly what kind of pressure Charleston is capable of operating under. So where does this actually land? Once the noise from the Collin County booking settles down, the arrest did exactly what these moments always do to Charleston's name. It spread fast, pulled reaction channels in within hours, and dragged Big U's name and Whack 100's name straight back into the same headline they've shared for years through the Nipsey Hussle accusations. That much is settled. The mugshot is real, it's circulated, and it reignited a conversation that had never actually gone quiet. What it didn't do is resolve anything. Big U has spent years denying any role in what happened to Nipsey, and a new booking photo out of Collin County changes nothing about the official record on that case, which still centers on Eric Holder and the conversation about snitching that prosecutors say triggered the shooting. Charleston's accusations against Big U remain exactly what they've been for years. Claims made on a platform, repeated across dozens of videos, but never the basis of any charge filed against Big U in Nipsey's death. What this arrest did do was put Charleston back at the center of the exact debate his own history invites every time his name trends. Who gets to call someone else a snitch when your own record includes testifying against a co-defendant as a teenager? That tension didn't start on August 10, 2026, and it isn't ending with it either. It's been running underneath every clash he's had with Whack 100, every claim he's made about Big U, and every arrest that's followed him since that first viral traffic stop in Irving. Charleston's own account of his time at Giddings has always framed his story as one of transformation. A kid who rose to lead a gang inside a maximum security facility and came out the other side running a youth outreach program. That's the story he's told publicly for years. And it's the story that carried him from Fort Worth onto a national platform. But every time a new booking photo surfaces, it drags that same origin story back into frame, right alongside whatever new charge he's now facing in Collin County. That pattern isn't going away. Big U keeps pushing back on any suggestion he had a hand in Nipsey's death. Whack 100 keeps clashing with Charleston every time the subject comes up. And Charleston keeps doing what he's always done, getting in front of a camera, on his own terms, as soon as he gets the chance. The difference this time is that a county jail put his photo out there before he had a chance to shape the story around it. And that gap is exactly what let the reactions run ahead of the facts. Nothing about the Collin County booking closes the book on Nipsey Hussle's case, on Big U's denials, or on the years of accusations Charleston has thrown his way. If anything, it's one more entry in a file that keeps growing every time these names cross paths again. In a courtroom, on a jail intake form, or in front of a camera neither side expected to be rolling.